All right, I'm gonna warn you. This question's kind of a tough one, at least it is for me. The question is, are you a fixer? Do you try to fix every problem that comes at you in life? Guilty as charged here. My wife and I, when we go to bed, she falls asleep so much easier than I do. It really frustrates me. And early on in our marriage, she did this. She doesn't do it anymore, but she would get in bed and she's like, I love you, dear. I'd be like, I love you. And right before we turn off the light, she'd say, oh, I need to tell you, the dog has a $700 vet bill and the kid got a C- and the teacher wants to meet with us. And by the way, one of the teeth cracked on the other kid and the car's making a funny noise. Anyway, good night. And she would just unburden herself with every problem that needed to be fixed. And then what would I do? I would lay in bed and I would try to fix every single one of them in my mind. Man, don't be a fixer like me. Sometimes you just got to go, God's got this, and I am not called to try to fix it. Don't believe me? Look at Philippians chapter 1, starting in verse 15. Here's the Apostle Paul, one of the most effective Christians ever, and here's what he writes. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains. What's going on here? Some people were actually preaching Jesus so they would keep Paul in prison. They wanted to get the mob riled up and go, this Christianity thing's a real problem. So they're completely insincere, absolutely deceptive. And what does Paul do about it? Nothing. Why doesn't he fix this problem? Well, number one, he knows he can't. Only God can fix it. There's a lot of problems like that in our life. We try to fix something only God can fix. The other thing he realizes this, and this is really important, the gospel works. Even when people preach it and they preach it from a deceptive or greedy, the gospel, that message, there's a God and we're sinners and God's response to our sin is to love us by sending Christ to die for us, and we need to make a choice. That message works. And by the way, it doesn't need any help from us. What would happen if you went a whole month and said, the world can survive without my opinions? You know what would happen? You would sleep better. That's what would happen. So I want to just ask you, look through your life and say, where am I trying to control things too much? Do a little inventory today. Where am I trying to change things that only God can change? And then give those back to God. A lot of times I think I try to do this based on past hurts and mistrust. When trust is broken, I just want to control more. What I really need to do is give control back to God. My friend, I hope you could do this. I hope you could just lay it all at Christ's feet and let him fix the problems.